Okay, I think we're all set to go. Okay. Today we're starting, up till now, we dealt with the signs of the zodiac and the houses of the zodiac. We had the pattern types and the moon phases, but the signs and the houses, which are the scales of the seasons and the scales of the hours of the day. So the influence of the orbital energies and the influence of the axial energies of the day and the night and the four seasons. So these two being different, these are the scales against which we have our experience, what's above us, the seasons, what's beneath us, day and night, and how the world turns around and how we live each day. When we get to the planets, it's really the sun and moon and planets, we start looking at the kind of like it used to be considered the gods in the heavens, or the heavenly lights, or the heavenly masters or angels, the moving lights in the heavens. So we have the seasonal lights, we have the daily light and dark, seasonal light and dark, and we have the heavenly light, the celestial lights, the heavenly light. The celestial lights would include the stars, but the moving celestial lights, these were considered like the gods. These are the functioning members of the solar system, the movements of the planets through the sky, and of the sun and of the moon. So the moon phases the moon and the sun. That is the first layer of it. But here, there are other planets moving across the sky, over stars, overhead, underneath. That's the next energy. But understanding the planets is the most mystical side of astrology. Or it's like, how do you get to know a person? You know, like you meet a person one day, you get one impression. You meet a person 10 times, you made a few more impressions about what they are or who they are. You meet them 100 times, you know them for 10 years. You're sure you know them because you've got the main general characteristics figured out. And there's always something to learn from some of this, always something else to tune into, always new levels of experience, or higher frequencies or lower frequencies. So with the sun representing the seasons and the days of the year, we see the daily in the sun cycle. We see our basic cycles. But then these other planets moving, they have their own cycles too, and their own phases and their own timings. And these timings affect us. The frequencies affect us. We get one level of meaning by how big each planet is, another by how close it is to us. And to us means, in heliocentric astrology, it would be to the sun, but from the Earth, we're looking from the Earth. So even the distance of the planets is sometimes it's closer. There's a point where it's closer, points where it's further away. And then, and there's the cycles of each planet. So the planets are like jewels in the sky, and each jewel has like 1,000 facets or different ways you could see them. But most of the facets are covered up just in a ball of light, and we just see the light. We don't get to understand all the facets. Through astrology, we can come to know them. But as we're working with astrology, we see planets and signs, planets and houses. We can learn the signs, we can learn the houses. But as we learn the planets, and to the degree that we understand them, that's the degree that we can see how people function, how we function, and the challenges of it in our lifetime. And we can watch the functioning can be on all kinds of levels. So it's very difficult to know the level someone's using their planet on or using their energy on, what level of consciousness they're living on. Because the planets will work differently at different levels. But they still will have a recognizable quality. So getting to know the planets, getting to know the mythological beings, getting to know the heavenly beings in the skies that are guiding us. And over the centuries, over the thousands of years, over the millenniums, people have looked to the heavens and watched these moving lights and tried to learn or gain understanding from them and align our lives to a higher pattern rather than just a worldly pattern. Not everybody does this, but the people who study these things end up trying to elevate their nature to a higher level. What's higher? The heavens are higher. And as we stand under them and we observe, we can develop our understanding, standing under our understanding of the planets. Our very words in our alphabet and our languages are lined up to this same relationships to the signs, to the houses, to the planets. So really astrology is a language, and we're trying to come to approach the planets. Now, okay. So we have the image of the planet being a jewel with many facets. You can also say there's different layers or frequencies or dimensions of consciousness, that each planet represents different layers of consciousness or different dimensions of consciousness. And as we become sensitive to each layer, we can begin to be vulnerable to it, develop experiences around it, understand it, and learn it. So there is a process by which we come to experience our planets. And it's just the natural way of life. So as we're born and as we grow, we slowly develop our consciousness and our awareness and the different levels of consciousness till hopefully, if we become a wholesome human being, we'll have developed a consciousness that includes an active relationship to each of the planets. Now, the planets, okay. What's a planet? What's not a planet? It's a big question these days, because with modern techniques, with between some of the X-ray telescopes now, never mind the infrared and the other types of sensors, our X-ray sensors and our lasers are reaching out and discovering things in the solar system and in the world and the universe around us on a phenomenal way like we've never found before. So, and in this process, new planets are being discovered, and over the next century, there could be as many as 50 or 100 new planets being discovered within our solar system. And most of them will be far out and more distant than Pluto and have longer cycles. And as they come up, there'll be astrologers, there will be people trying to determine what they might mean, how to put them in a chart, and how to work with them. So there's no end to this, but what the general logic or theory is that as each new planet comes in, some new factor of consciousness, which has always been there, becomes more consciously aware to us humans as we begin to discover each planet. And it parallels phenomena going on at that time. So basically, traditionally, I should say almost eternally, we've had the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets you can see. Not always, but they can be seen with the eyes, so they can be knowable. These are the main 7 planets. So the moon, the sun, we consider, when we're talking, we generally consider them as planets. They're not, but moon, sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. We don't see the Earth because we're on the Earth, so that makes Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. So those are our 5 main planets. With the sun and moon, it totals 7 celestial bodies that we can see. These 7, when you look at 7 of anything, 7 notes in a scale, in a Western scale, 7 days of the week, 7 rays, 7 numbers. There's so many different associations that have been developed based on this basic theory of 7. But let's just say the days of the week: Sunday, Monday, Moon Day, Tuesday, Mercredi, in French is Mercredi, Venus, Vendredi, Saturn Day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday is Mercury. Yeah, Wednesday, Mercury. Mars Day is Tuesday. They want Mars Day. So each of the day of the week is named after one of the planets. Wars have been fought over whether Sunday or Saturday or Friday is the holy day or the day of rest. So there's many, those are just very simple associations that how we've run into experience. We can go on into history. But basically, these are the noble planets, the ones that you can see, the most obvious ones. Then, so we have the inner planets, Mercury and Venus, and the moon can go inside the Earth and not a planet, but Mercury and Venus are the inner planets. Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are outside the orbit of Earth. They take longer to go around. And then we have the far outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Now Pluto is not considered a planet, but we still have carried it in the chart. It's coming one of the minor planets, but it has been studied extensively. Astrology, again, a theory about it has been developed. These outer planets have their presence, and we can see their presence in a chart in the houses. Not so much inside. We see how the sign affects the planet, how it affects the houses, but we certainly can see its energy and its effect by aspects, and we certainly can see them by transits or by progressions. So they definitely have a presence. In the Western world, there's things called the rulerships, right? So traditionally, the rulerships were the 7 planets, the sun, the moon, were each one, and each of the planets had a masculine and feminine sign. The outer planets aren't even looked at in Vedic astrology, but as they were added in. But in the Western world, there was a tendency to make modern interpretations, and if there's 12 signs, there's got to be a ruler for each sign. This is the theory behind it. It's not one that I propose. It's there. It's in the majority of literature. However, these outer planets that you can't see, they have a presence, but they're not noble enough, and they shouldn't be representing the rulership of a planet, of a sign, because it distorts that sign and makes it more negative. We talked about this. Anyways, so